Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Silent Sequester podcast. I'm your host, Isaiah, here with my three co-hosts, Chanel, Geneva, and Sasha, to talk about some Sequester. Oh yeah, I forgot to say it. This is the Silent Sequester podcast, the place where everything but silent. So before we get to anything, what do you guys feel about the episode?
I did 1,300 jumping jacks to be here. So I'm excited. I'm glad.
I lifted some cinder blocks, to prepare for this evening in case.
Will that help you effectively podcast about this episode, Sasha?
Of course.
Probably not.
I hope so.
It was my favorite episode, to be honest. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was one of my favorite. I won't say it's my favorite. I'll say it's like one of my favorite episodes. Just like how everyone maneuvered, how everything went down, involving the jury. Everyone was there. Like, I just thought it was like a really interesting episode to me.
Okay. I mean, there's been a lot of mixed feelings on places like Twitter, YouTube, various social media. But I mean, I can say, at least for myself, I liked a majority of it. I think there was only one area where I was very iffy on, but I mean, we're going to get to that eventually. But yeah, we might as well just hop right into it. This was like an hour-long episode, so it wasn't the longest. Not as much content to really cover because it was kind of the outcome was kind of obvious once you got to a certain point, but we'll talk about it. So we start this episode basically carrying off from the last one, where we're seeing Muna. She wins the competition against Brendan, and basically she goes to Luxury Row for the first time, and she does not find the battle pass that is replenished since Jacob used his. So that's still out there. We're going to see Marcelo, Jacob, and the other players basically reflect on the possibility of Muna coming back into the game. And Marcelo and Jacob are shook to find out that Muna is back into the game. She basically has this whole speech like she usually does famously, and she says that she's not dragging Spencer if she gets voted back in, and she's straight up coming for Jacob and Marcelo because they double-crossed her. They try to explain themselves, but she's just like, nah, I don't want to hear it. Billy just jumps in. They're like, nah. And then Jacob tries to justify it by saying, oh, like, you did it to me when I was tethered, da-da-da. And it's not the same thing to me, So how do you guys feel about all that?
Weak sauce. That's a weak. I get weak sauce. As soon as I heard that, I was like, no, that is not the same thing. That is not the same thing. That was someone was dragging her down. She was proving a point, like, I'm not the bigger threat. This person's the bigger threat. And at that point, she could see that when that had happened, like, she's just pointing out, like, he betrayed you in the end. Like, I never said I was going to work with you, whatever. And he's actually won more things. So she was just there to prove a point. There's a difference between that and then going behind someone's back, ruthlessly and doing so. And I get it. Muna's a big player. Like, many people have said this, like, oh, you should take your shot, whatever. But, like, in what way was it good for his game to do that? He was just being ruthless and just like, I don't care, and just like kind of threw it on. It's not the same. It is definitely not the same.
Yeah, I think timing is key when you take shots at certain people, especially when you have, like, if you have a solid relationship with somebody and someone that's going to be loyal to you, why come after them so soon? What is the point? Like, what are you really gaining from? I mean, you're making a move, I guess, but also Muna is clearly a huge target. So it's like, once you get rid of Muna, then who's next? They're you, exactly. And so that's where it's kind of like, for some people, I just didn't understand. Like, I get the idea. Like, I commend Natalie for attempting to target Muna, but even so, I was kind of like, Muna saw you as an ally as well. Like, that could be good for you to maybe wait a round or two and then cut her. So, and, I guess we even see in this episode later, Marcel exposes what happened. So that's where it's like, that was my fear, was that, like, it would come out that, like, even though it was a great like move, you know, it would come out because she came back. So
Yeah, I agree as well with everything. It's really interesting because I think that Jacob gained nothing by voting
Absolutely.
her out, and
Mhm.
lost everything by voting her out. So to me, it's that. And then actually, Geneva, it's interesting, yeah, because with Natalie, I don't know that Natalie knew necessarily, at least, that Muna was like with her in that way. At least now, like I know before they talked about their connection and stuff. So I'm not too mad at Natalie. Like at least I think she's just like we heard in her jury speech, she's just trying to do something. Versus which again, like that we could talk about that as well. But I think Jacob just unnecessarily, I feel, shot himself in the foot. Yeah,
absolutely.
foot, and like helped Spencer in the meantime gain so much footing.
We literally saw like Josh and Spencer just like sitting there. They were loving that. I mean, I would too if I was in that situation, because literally you just got like all these people just screaming at each other, and after seeing the outcome of what happened, I'm starting to think Marcelo would have threw Jacob under the bus there.
Mhm.
But I mean, they just didn't let him. I would have just said it straight up. I don't care if like they're yelling over me. I've been like, it's Jacob, it's not me. But you know what? Whatever.
It was funny because Jacob at that point even was still trying to like help Marcelo because he was like, talk
Mhm.
your shit, Marcelo. It's okay. And then Marcelo was like, no, 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 it's you. Like it's like we're not the same anymore. So to me, it was so like funny and charged because and then you see Billy in the background pacing, and then Marcelo's holding her back. Right. And then I was like, what's going on there? I don't understand. And then Billy's outfit also, want to give a moment for the mask, the sunglasses, like an icon. And then Billy moving over.
It's like, oh no, these are my people now. Goodbye.
These are my people. I'm gonna stand here. And then Spencer is like, yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
He's like, yes, I'm a part of something now.
So basically after we get all that craziness, we're going to find out what the challenge is. Now this is the area where I'm very mixed on it, because even before I knew the outcome of it, when I first initially heard it, I just thought it was like because like I'm very iffy on it. Let me explain the rules and I'll tell my opinion. So basically the players get to pitch their case to the jury on if they were granted safety, who are two people they will nominate. And basically at the end of each pitch, the jury gets to, I'm not sure if they got to come together, but they basically got to form their own opinions and they got to vote on who they wanted to give safety to. Whoever got safety would basically have their nominations made anonymously. And it would be up to that person to tell if they got safety or not. Now, I think it's a cool twist. I think it's meant originally for like a bigger cast, but I think since this is such a small cast, and it's like what this is like final
Seven.
Yeah, so it's like the jury is going to get influence the game a lot here. And now you're kind of going to have an idea of who they want to vote to win. So like that hinders, even though it helped Muna in this round, like later down the road, they can be like, oh shoot, the jury likes Muna or the jury likes Billy. I don't want to take them to the end, you know? So that was my only iffy part about it, but everything else I was completely fine with.
Yeah, I think that, like you were mentioning about maybe this was probably a better option for a bigger cast. I do wish maybe that if this round were to happen, maybe it would have happened a bit sooner. I guess I don't know, I wasn't really sure how I felt about it being at 7. I would have preferred maybe a traditional Final 7 twist, whatever that would be, 7 Deadly Sins, or even like a bounty twist or something to keep someone safe at Final 6 if you get your target out. Just because I feel like with this, I feel like the obvious 2 people went up, and it didn't leave for much variation. I mean, I guess like in the sense of what was taking place in the house, I think it just made the most sense. But I think in terms of a round per se, I don't know if it was necessarily the most exciting one to watch, but I did really enjoy just kind of getting a sense of each individual player's perception of their game. and their perception of the other players. So that's what I really did enjoy about this round, and I really did like hearing these speeches, and also just hearing the reasoning for why each individual jury member actually chose to give their vote to certain people. And I think especially with the whole thought about, Muna has this LOS, so it could be flushed. So we're not going to necessarily save her in this case, but it still, I guess, was beneficial to her in terms of Billy being safe. So I did think it was fine, but I think that maybe I would have preferred a different twist personally.
Yeah, I hear that. And I think it was interesting because I don't think the round itself is so great, or like this twist was so great, but I appreciated at least them. It's almost one, they got to practice their jury speeches, I feel. And you could really, like, for me at least, I was like, oh, this person is not going to do well, like Marcelo. Like, it's not going to do well speaking to jury. And like, they almost cut his part out anyway. I don't even think we got to hear that much. Versus, right, like Amuna, of course, which we knew that part, but even Jacob, I felt like the way he was speaking to jury as well. So to me, like, that was really interesting. And I'm glad like we got to see at least part of that, because we're only going to see two people do that at the end. So I like that piece. And then I think secondly, it was really interesting to see where everyone's actual game was, because, or at least what they're willing to tell a jury maybe, but still where everyone's actual game was, because in confessionals, production's telling you a little bit, like the Brendan Jabroni thing, right? Like, so I'm assuming like production's pushing a little bit, and then, there's a little bit of like, my confessional needs to make it into the edit. So here's how I'm going to talk a little bit of that. So that's why I think it was nice to like hear all that piece. But I agree, as a twist, I don't know that I care for it. I just, as an audience, I was like, oh, this was nice to like see what's actually going on and who thinks what.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun only because, like you all said, you got to see people explain what their gameplay was. And it was like, especially with Josh's speech, it really, like, I knew it would be a good speech, but it was just like this like thing awakened in him. And he's like, let me lay this out for you. Like, this is what I've done. This is why I did this. Like, this is why you should do this. And like, he had a good argument and everything. I think just like Muna's argument and Billy's argument was just better, but like, he was like very concise. And I was like, if he makes this to the end, he wins.
Yeah.
Like he can lay out his game. He has a good resume. He's probably going to play that LOS, save himself. Like, he had good allies and everything. Like, so it was like a good little teaser for all of us. And then it showed again that Jacob is willing to throw an ally again under the bus, because he tried to throw Natalie out there, which made no sense. Why again?
That was very selfish. Very selfish.
But
so selfish. It's crazy.
I get it though.
I think it's the one time where you can throw out names and you don't really necessarily have to worry about like the backlash that could come from it. So I think that's what was really interesting about this round, was seeing people, based on what their perception is of the game and how they think that two certain nominees going up would be better for them and help them move forward. I just liked it. Like, I even think that, Josh is like, oh, well, I'm close to Billy and Muna, but I would nominate them. So, he wouldn't say that to their faces.
No,
so
absolutely not.
And so that's where I did like it, because in a sense, it's like you could offer up certain suggestions that you might not necessarily offer up, in front of others, based on, because you don't want that necessarily negative response or you being the target. So I did kind of like that it was kind of like an anonymous type thing.
Yeah, totally.
And I will say two things. One, in regards to the whole Jacob thing, I thought it was funny that he did throw Natalie out, because literally you got Spencer and Muna both saying, oh yeah, he throws his allies under the bus. Like, he's not.
And he just did it again.
Yeah.
I knew.
So, like,
he's literally going to have no one left. No one.
So it was that. And then the second thing. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that it was interesting how people actually use this, because I think Billy Marcelo, Jacob, and Muna specifically use this to target each other, where you have players like Spencer, Josh, and Natalie who really took this opportunity to let the jury actually get an insight on what their game is, since they're such under the radar players. And I think it really opened people's eyes up. So
yeah, I agree with that. And I think because I was reflecting on it, and I feel like I didn't really get much from Jacob in the sense about his game. Like he was just more discussing, you know, his relationship with Muna and how that is affecting the game and real life, and then just who he's targeting, and just the general like probabilities of like who might be picked for battle match. He might stay safe if these people go up and that sort of thing. So I was expecting to hear a bit more, because for me, like I do think that there are aspects of Jacob's game that are very strong, but I also worry about some of the social aspects of this game. And I guess, like, you know, with towards the end of the episode, I do wonder why he either did certain things or didn't do certain things, which I'm sure we'll touch on a bit more, and how he's really framing himself to the jury as a player. Because I feel like the last couple of episodes haven't really been the best for him.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And also with that, I think with the move with Sequester, right? You obviously can't go to the end with a lot of your allies because they're probably strong, especially his allies. I get that. You have to figure out a way to get them out. That's fine. I think date night was probably the worst thing, because you're gonna find out that you were the person. Like you're gonna find out that it was you, regardless, right? Same thing with like Marcelo. Like that just wasn't the night for the Muna move, because she's gonna find out. You know, like, there's no way of hiding it. Like you could, like maybe in this episode when you're throwing out names, you can be like, listen, she's my best ally, but I can't beat her. Like she, you know, she's running this, blah blah, whatever, right? Like this would have been good because you had no idea who got saved and you have no idea who put them up. This is the opportunity. Or in the next round when they have to throw people up, whatever, you know, have someone else do it for you. You could have Natalie do your dirty work for you, which I think that's why he's brought in Natalie to do his dirty work, or initially to do his dirty work of taking out Muna for him, right? And he accepted that. So I just think if he had not done a date night and just saved it for this one or even the next one, his spot would be much better here. And a lot of people are like, well, she's a big player, like he had to take her out. Yeah, he could have done that. But the blowback is much worse for his team.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's, and I think at Final 7, it's almost like all bets are off, because, and I think coming so close to jury, it really, like with the actual jury, I think it really puts things in perspectives for you as a player and you as like, oh, I need to think about my end game. Like they're right in front of me and this is what's going to happen. So it's almost that if Jacob would have done it now, I really think that even Muna herself would have been like, oh, that's frustrating. Here is my LOS. Like we're good to go. It's fine. It's fine. You know, as much as it can be, I'll say versus I think, like in a date night where like Jacob came up with this whole plan, right? Like I think it's no one, like Billy is the best example, right? No one likes to be fooled like that. Even if you're voting me out, like don't like make me out to be like an idiot, you know? And that's what I felt like was happening versus I think a straight cutthroat, like I just can't go against you in Final 2, right? So to me, it's those layers where this would have been better. And that's why Muna, right? Like ends up hugging Spencer also, because it's almost like we're getting close. Like, let's figure out how we're going to get to the end.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think one thing is I felt like date night is really the opportunity where you kind of focus on what's going to happen next, like the long term. I didn't honestly think that was the time to make a big move. I also think sometimes that it can be challenging because, you know, you're talking to people one-on-one and you don't necessarily know what they're thinking as you're going, you know, throughout. And I mean, they successfully, I guess, theoretically got the vote to go on Muna, but she also won the battle match. So it really wasn't effective, and it caused this huge backlash and rupture in the game that I don't think was necessarily required to happen. I think that this, like you said, would have been a better round because, two people are going to go up, and you're not going to know necessarily, who won unless that person is exposed. So I think this is definitely a round, like a secret round, where it would be more effective to make a move like this, and especially when you know for sure you have the numbers and the support to do it.
Mhm.
Exactly. And you can kind of throw it on someone else too, like, because if he had convinced them and been like, okay, do Muna and Billy, whatever, and then they did that, and then Muna played her LOS, she'd be like, oh, that could have been anyone, like,
Yeah.
who would put me and Billy up. Like, it couldn't have been Jacob. And then Jacob could have been sitting there pretty, like, with this safety or whatever. Like, he could have made a good pitch, and, none the wiser to anyone else, like, who did it. So it's just like, you're trying not to piss people off. It's also poor jury management, because if Muna gets out and you're still around, and then Billy gets out and you're still around, and now Marcelo's out and you're still around, like, what votes do you have left?
I don't know. That's the thing. And then it's like he was also closely aligned with someone who hasn't really been focusing that much on jury management, on social awareness. So that's where it's kind of like his performance right now is kind of polarizing.
Mhm.
And so that's why I definitely agree that if he should come for Muna at some point, but like, I just don't think that was the time. And I really think that caused a lot of damage to his game. And I really don't know what's going to happen in a round or two. I feel like, Jacob is not in the best position anymore. He was in a solid position. I feel like Spencer is in a much better position now, which is 100%.
Like, literally every single person except Natalie wants to take out Jacob now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Every single person.
Imagine a future. I mean, and you can say the argument that they don't know the next challenge, whatever. Okay. But imagine a future where he already wanted Brendan out, right? You take out Brendan. You literally, only person that's even thinking about taking you out is Josh, and he doesn't really have the kind of clout to do it.
Yep.
He comes into this, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I like Jacob." Jacob can say, "Oh yeah, Muna told me she has an LOS. I want to come after her. No one else is coming after me." Like, literally, no one would target him. So, he definitely. We said this last time. If he just waited 1 or 2 rounds, like, he would have been gold. But he would
have been set. He would have.
And why isn't he outing Muna's LOS? That's another thing.
He did. I think he did.
Oh, he did. Okay, sorry.
I don't think so.
I don't think he did.
Or maybe he didn't. Maybe he's saving it.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Was it like he forgot in the moment? Was this to mend fences a bit with Muna, because he realizes, because later on we see his little speech to her essentially. So that's where I was wondering, like, did he forget in the moment, or was this like he did this for a reason, because maybe he'll use it at Final 6 as a potential way to come after her, or is he trying to mend fences with her?
Well, I mean, while we're transitioning to the whole thing, I mean, we're done with the challenge, so I mean, we can just talk about what happened afterwards, because basically Billy wins immunity and she nominates Jacob Marcella. This whole round was all over the place. So I don't have an issue like going all over the place.
Okay, sounds good.
In response to what you were saying, in my mind, it's very confusing, because I think he had the intentions of like, all right, if I do get voted out, which I think he has an honest opinion, like I think he knew that he was going to get voted out. I think he was trying to set himself up to where Muna can possibly fix things with Muna if he comes back. But even so, it was very bizarre, because he's still like, I don't know, his approach was very bizarre. And I think he's going to try to get back with Muna and Billy, but like that, there's no coming back from that. You lied to her twice. So I don't know what he's trying to do. Jacob somehow knows how to make things work, so I'm very curious to see what his next move is. I think he's just like, all right, I didn't tell anyone about your LOS because I still want to work with you, maybe, or something like that. I don't know, but I'm very confused with his approach.
He made nice with Spencer right before the end. So I'm also wondering, right before that round ended. So, and Spencer didn't vote for him. So that's one, right? I don't know how much, again, clout Spencer has. But still, I think that you're correct. Maybe he's trying that. I just have no idea what his end game again is, but it's fine. I agree that if anyone can do it, it's him for sure. And I want to say one last thing, sorry about the jury voting, is that I just loved Shireen going through the phone and being like, okay, this is how the vote, like you could really tell how strategic her mind is and how she, her especially, I know all of the jury wanted this, but her specifically like actually had this calculated move of really impacting the game. So I just wanted to say that part also.
Yeah, I enjoyed that part. I was like, wait, what's going on? Let me hear her, her argument. Like, because she's like, this person votes for this person votes for this person. So if I save this person, then okay, cool, Billy.
And I was like, I was like, Shireen, I have no idea what you just said. Yeah. But that was what I think was a funny moment. Also, just to see a phone, because I don't know. I guess she's like, production, can I have a phone and take notes?
I need some sort of note.
Yeah, because they gave a little text at the bottom, like Shireen's checking this.
Well, actually,
I think it was very interesting.
To actually add
I was just going to say that I thought it was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jenny. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, okay. I was just going to say that I did think it was interesting to see like some people's reasonings for why they voted for certain people. So like, Brent did like note he was impressed by what Natalie had to say. But he like responded really well to what Muna and Billy said. And like, Billy, I think, got him with the emotions. And so like he decided to, save Billy. And then Katie was like, after, Josh and Spencer's speech, but mentioning that Josh probably doesn't know about Muna's LOS. And she does agree that Marcella needs to fight a bit, which led her to go down the Billy route. So it was very interesting to see how people led to choosing Billy. And I do feel like a lot of people's speeches actually helped Billy more than I think they probably realized, even though it looked like, oh, maybe these are justified reasons to target Billy. But so I just thought that was quite interesting to see how people came to their reasoning. And I think Jay West was like the only one to really say Muna, I believe. So
yeah,
they all said Billy. And even the one that impressed, so Billy's speech was probably the most impressive for me. The most surprising was probably Natalie's. Like she was very concise and had really good points. But I really loved Billy's speech because she was just like, she connected with every single person. Even like, she even connected with Brent. She was like, Brent, like, you turned my vote. Like, you turned my vote. And I'm being honest with you with that. Like, we talked, your verbiage was good, and you flipped me. And I'm not throwing votes everywhere. It's just like, I was working with so many people. Like, so many people were my allies. Like, I had to do that. And I even talked to Marcella when I did throw it on him to let him know about that. So she's like, I know you guys think it's like, me having a weak game throwing votes, but I just want you to understand like why I was doing these things. But these are the people I'm putting up. This is why. Like, she was just like, she just has this way of words where she just connects with people. And I think that's what really sold it. Yes. She's just really honest about it. You know what I mean? So, and then Muna kind of just like put that cherry on the top when she said, if you put up Billy, or if you say Billy, I'm just going to use my LOS. And then you can flush it. And they're like, oh, flushing an LOS. Yes, flushing an LOS.
They're like, let's do it.
That. Yes. Yeah. So it's like this tag team of these two just really sold it. And I don't think it mattered whatever the other people said, because it was just like, we have this really, both of them are great at talking. And it was just like, it was so fun to watch. And it was fun to watch everyone else's, because you got to think into their game. But it was just like, yeah, Billy sold it to me. I would give it to her. Yeah. The fact that she connected with someone like Brent, who's kind of just all over the place and talking to a bunch of people, and she was able to just sit there and connect with someone like Brent, just shows you just like how good she is at like genuine connections with anybody. You know what I mean? So if you break that, like, it's over for you. So Jacob, it's over for you. And Marcella.
And Marcelo even said that, right? Like, Billy is the most people respect Billy the most. I think it was Marcelo that said that. And in the house. And it was really beautiful to see Brent saying, like, I'm tearing up. Like, Billy's pitch to me was just so beautiful, and it really feels genuine. So again, if Billy makes it to the final two, it's going to be interesting. Like I want to see it. I think it's not that it's hers to lose. I think like if she's with Muna or actually a few other people, like I can see how, but I'm thankful that they're all really strong, and then like everyone going in really has a case. I feel some stronger than others, but still, so it's really cool, and I'm glad that this cast is really like bringing it for us.
Yeah, I also felt like Spencer had an interesting speech. He like started like, "Oh, I miss seeing some of your faces, but I can't really see them right now." I did think, though think it was very interesting how he talked about, I guess, his reasoning for targeting Jacob and Marcel and why he respects Billy, Muna, Josh, and himself as playing the best. And we're the ones that are bringing it, and then Spencer just got all the confirmation he needed from people. They're like, "Oh, I want a 4 with you," and he's like, "Yes." So it was very, I guess, in a sense, kind of exciting to see that he actually found people that want to work with him.
Yes,
I feel like that's not something we've seen really much at all this game. So,
there's the marriage of necessity that Brent was talking about. Katie, there it is right there. It's really turned. His game has really turned, and I think we discussed this like as soon as I think Muna came back, I was like, she needs to work with Spencer here because they're both on the outs at this point. They need to come together, get Billy in there, maybe one more, which was like Josh, and just like tear it up because, there's obviously another side of the house, which is like the Natalie, Marcelo, and Jacob side.
Yes.
So she really needs to work with him here, and she needs to actually take him to the final.
Yes.
If anything, if she has a chance. So she really needs to, though they're saying that this is the final 4, if Josh is smart, he needs to replace Muna with like a Natalie or something.
Yeah, 100% Natalie.
And take her. I think he'll keep Billy around because Billy wouldn't if there's a drag, Billy won't drag him. Right. So I think she would drag Spencer.
Yeah, Muna said that. Muna in her speech to the jury said when she was listing people out, she's like, Spencer, he'll get dragged at 4.
100%.
I think that was Muna that said that. Yeah. So that was
depending
also
on
really
the final 4 with them, right?
Yeah, of course.
If it's the final 4 that they're saying they're gonna go with and say Billy gets out, then she's gonna drag Spencer. I think Josh would also drag Spencer because at that point, what's the point of him, not putting those two together? That'd be an epic final. So I think he needs to replace. I think he'll keep Billy around, but I think he'll replace Muna with like a Natalie, for sure.
Sorry, Natalie said that, by the way. Sorry, it wasn't me.
Oh, Natalie. Okay.
Yeah. Which is also interesting.
She said that she knows Josh is playing a good game and she's very iffy about keeping him around. But since Billy is like so like good with him, like she's really relying on him to keep him off her back. So like he's relying on that Billy Josh connection. That's what she's doing. But yeah, like definitely. Like, I think Josh's best interest is to take, like, a Spencer, Billy, and Natalie, and then just, like, hope that Billy doesn't get to the end. Like, I think realistically, like, Josh would take a Spencer. I think Billy would take Josh. I think Natalie would probably take Spencer. Like, I think everybody but, like, Billy would take Spencer.
I hope. I really hope.
Yeah. But,
I think that's the only way you win, really.
Yeah.
Social game is key.
Yeah, I mean, the back end of his game has been pretty good, but like,
so he could
probably not enough.
But I don't know if I think it's a little too late. Honestly.
Yeah. I do want to give Spencer his like props because we've said this for a while now, right? Like, I want you. Or we wanted him to like be calmer, be a little like more together and listen.
Killing it.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. Even though it's already happened, but I was like, he took the advice I was hoping. So.
Exactly. And and I'm assuming because he talked about Billy being his moral compass, which is like, you should have your own, but it's okay. I just want to like also say that to Spencer because we talk a lot about Spencer on this podcast, but for this moment, I do want to say it was really interesting to see him and this Final 4 coming together. Like obviously as fans, we like this Final 4. And I just, again, he stepped back and everyone confirmed it with him instead of
Yep.
he confirming it with other people, which is, again, like, good on you, Spencer. Like, I wish you did this earlier, because I really think he would have had some longevity, but now I think he's kind of the GOAT.
Yeah,
And I
definitely.
think this is definitely like effective communication now, because I think he's starting to finally see, oh, these are people who actually want to work with me, versus beforehand he was like with Jacob and Brent and Brendan, like they did not care for him, you know.
Right.
So it's like you got to let the people come to you. You can't just like force yourself on someone else, you know what I'm saying? Real quick, before we get to Marcelo acting crazy, so my question, because I saw this a lot on Twitter and on Reddits and chats and all this. So a lot of people think that the jury voting, like a few people were possibly catering to just like the what was it, like a herd mentality, just like follow the leader almost. Do you guys think that genuinely, like people like Brendan, people like Brent, etc., just like voted because they genuinely bought in on the pitch? Or do you think they were just like, oh, this, like Rachel and Shireen and all these other people are doing this, I need to just hop on with them?
Did they know that though? Like they probably didn't know who each other were voting for, because there's Katie. So that's Katie, Brent, Brendan, and then Rachel, Shireen, and Jay West, right? Okay. The only people that would probably, if they're saying are favoriting or whatever, might be like Shireen and Rachel.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever, right? And then for like people like, actually everyone is thinking of the game. I'm not going to pinpoint whoever, but I don't think so, because I think they're all game players. I think they understand how a game needs to be played. They're all strategic. Even Shireen had her phone out and she was looking. She's trying to figure it out, make sure that it made sense. I don't think any of them cared who anyone was voting for.
Yeah. Also, Brent put on his Twitter that Josh was great, but you have to be able to read a room. Muna and, in parentheses, Billy had just been blindsided 12 hours earlier. He, aka Josh, thinks we were going to nom them ? So that's what, so I think that's where the jury was mentally. And I was going to, like, I don't know that Brent would be like so emotional. Like, I don't know that would be fake. I don't think he cares to be fake like that. So that's why I feel like Brent, it was genuine. Katie said it was actually the other speeches that turned me, turned me off, or not off, but like towards Billy. So so that's why I don't
compare. They couldn't compare to Billy's. I think she turned every single person in that room except Jay West, because he threw it on Muna or whatever. Right. But like, I think she turned every single person in that room, and I think it was super genuine. Like Brent fully said, like, she got me. She like, because I think she knew maybe he was the one person who would kind of just like throw it to like maybe a Josh or whatever, because he, they're a bit closer or whatever. So she was just like, I'm telling you that this, you turned me, I was with you. Like, I just want you to know that. And I think that was like super important. So yeah, like I could totally see where Katie is. If I saw that speech and Muna's speech, and then I saw the rest of them, I'd be like, oh, okay, this is trash. Like, I don't care.
And I was just going to quickly say that I think the jury, and I think a lot of people recently have been critical of Billy's game and like what loyalty means, and like, is she being honest, like all this sorts of stuff. So I feel like if anything, and also Billy hasn't gone into a battle match. So like, I feel like this vote was really more determined by her speech and everyone else's speeches, because I think a lot of people have been like, oh, well, Billy hasn't necessarily proven herself in certain ways and hasn't really necessarily, maybe he's playing the game scared, or there's that perception. So I feel like if it wasn't for the speeches, like I think maybe they would have chosen somebody who had nominated Billy, so that Billy would go up to see Billy have a shot at trying, I guess, to like prove herself in the game, because she hasn't gone into a battle match at this point, and basically everyone else has, aside from Marcelo. So like, I personally feel like, I know there's a lot of perception of favoritism, but I feel like a lot of people have been questioning Billy's game, especially in the last couple of rounds. So I don't really think it was necessarily favoritism. I think that the narrative that Billy and Muna told kind of led them to be like, okay, we'll save Billy. And the context matters because of the timing of what literally just happened. And so because the jury had information and they have more time to they're really thinking about things and processing things. I don't really feel like probably the players are necessarily thinking about what the jury themselves, are thinking, and they don't necessarily really know because they're not on the jury. So I think that's where because the jury has more of the story, they did what they thought would make the most sense. Not only just from an entertainment factor, but based on what just transpired.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay. Two more questions and then we'll just move on. So Brand PR actually asked a really good question. He said, do we know who the leader of the jury house is? Now, I don't think we know as a viewership, but like if I'm going to base it off of like Twitter interactions or whatever, you can tell like Rachel and Shreen, obviously they're close. And then Katie and Jay West seem like they really bonded in that jury house. Because of Brent and butting heads with Shireen and Rachel, I don't think that they were that close in there, but I'm going to assume that he was like with the Jordan and the Katie's of the world. So like I'm thinking maybe Katie in like Jay West and Brent maybe led that, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right, like just like this episode kept saying it over and over, but I feel like there's too many sharks in the
I was gonna say there's
jury.
so many A types in the jury because players who got out by battle matches, right?
Right.
They weren't even voted out; they were just like dragged in. So it's like
so unfortunate.
So many
I feel bad.
personalities, Maybe
the leader of the jury is not there yet.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think if Amuna shows up, I can see her personality, kind of being that like, oh, I have touch points with all of you. So like, here's my thoughts and here's like how we respect each other. But currently I think just like Isaiah, you already pointed out the voting blocks, but I think
I almost forgot Brendan too. It was cool.
Yeah.
Too, so yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's more that than almost like one leader per se. I think there's too many sharks in there right now.
And lastly, the last question is actually something for myself, and I want to see what your guys' opinion is. So there's a lot of people who have this narrative, and I'm not saying it's correct or incorrect, but there's a narrative going that Muna's position is very OP and production might be catering towards her, right? And I had to sit back myself and I was like, all right, let me think about this, right? So the two areas, well, first of all, I don't think production is catering to Muna whatsoever.
Absolutely not.
People
they
think
didn't plan that ahead of time.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Like people think she has 2 OP. I'm here to debunk this, right? So first of all,
we should debunk it.
So she came back into the game, right? And historically speaking, usually when someone comes back into the game via season 2 and season 3, they're safe. So this isn't the first time they've done that. The LOS, she didn't find it, but Jay West gave it to her, right? If it was like someone like a Spencer or something like that, like I don't know if they would have like easily like given it to him. But since people liked Muna and she developed these friendships, they were comfortable enough to give her this LOS. So that's the one thing about the LOS. The safety, that's a regular thing. Now, on terms of, there's 2 areas where I'm like, The first one is the twist of the round where regardless of who came back, they would have had this. But when she was able to pick the duos, I can see where some people are like, this is a little too much. I get that part. So I'm going to give that to y'all. I don't think that's catering, but game format wise, I don't think that should have been there. But lastly, people are saying, oh, well, she was safe basically like 2 rounds. And I don't think that's a thing either. Because one, she got voted out last round and she had to battle her way back in. And then she came back this time. She didn't even have safety. Billy had safety. So it's like, in hindsight, like, she's doing good. They're catering to her. No, it's just like, honestly, the cards are dealt and they're dealing a certain way. I don't now there is there an issue with some game decisions? Yeah, but I also will say in terms of production, this is a smaller cast and COVID was a factor. So they honestly had a lot of test runs here and they had the cause and effect, and I think that they see what happened, so they're going to have to adjust. It's still in its baby steps, but no, I don't think it's catering towards any players.
Mm-hmm. They should blame the contestants if they're going to be mad at anybody. Jay West was the one who decided to will the LOS to Muna. Jacob decided not to flush Muna's LOS at the end of this episode when he very well knew she had one. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, like the jury intentionally did not save Muna. They saved Billy because of the potential of her flushing her LOS. So if production were trying to rig this for Muna so that she had all these advantages and powers, then they probably would have put an envelope in each 3 boxes with the advantage in luxury row to ensure that got it. Did that happen? No. That didn't happen. So that's where I'm just like, sure, it looks like Muna has all these things that other people don't have, but some of these things are just things that we've seen in Sequester before. And that's why they explained it in the episode where she returned. Like, this isn't new. This happened in season 2 and season 3. And so this is happening again in season 4. And also the one point I want to make about the pairs, like, I can understand where some people are like, well, that was too much power. But keep in mind, like, Brent and Spencer did not help themselves in that episode at all. Like, they made themselves the clear target. They could have changed the narrative and put the vote on other people, but, like, going in front of people and telling them you're voting for them and doing all this other stuff and then causing paranoia with, oh, I don't know if I have an LOS. I'm not going to tell you. All that sort of stuff. And, like, yelling and shouting at people or whatever else was going on in that episode, it was justified that they were the ones that were voted out. So they could have still controlled the narrative and made it change, even though they were in a tough position. But, like, the edit clearly showed that their actions led to them going home. So I can understand where some people are like, oh, well, Muna had too much power. But it's like, also, the song tagline, we appreciate power. So let's appreciate the social gameplay that she has in this game, and that people that she's working with or people that she's gotten to know have been willing to either keep her safe. But she hasn't been immune. She literally was just voted out the last episode. So,
and I want to say Muna's the reason Muna still has an LOS on account that she could have used it, but she didn't. And went into a battle match. So I was very confused why people are saying that, because wouldn't you have used your LOS and not gone into a battle match? So that's one. And then also it's very interesting because, again, what we got mad at Spencer for was that, why aren't you making nice with people? She did make nice with Spencer. So now she's one less person coming after her. So to me, it's like, it's almost seeing, oh, here's like all the things a bit Muna has, which actually is only 2 things, right? That safety, the round she came back, and an LOS. She doesn't have anything else. Everything else is her social strategy, getting her where she needs to go, right? Like Spencer, her number one hater, person that's really coming after her enemy, like, is now wanting to work with her, and she's rightfully so working with him. So that's why I don't understand it, because to me, then they're not seeing the rest of the game or the rest of, like, the chessboard, whoever's saying that.
Now, with that being said, for future seasons, I mean, obviously there's bigger cash usually, but for future seasons, I will say I wouldn't have the safety in, like, someone coming back in an LOS. I would just have one of those, first of all. The second thing I will say is the jury. I mean, we already said it, but the jury thing, I might scrap that, honestly. But anyway, yeah, so that's our little segment. So we're gonna get back into this crazy post results situation. So basically, after Billy makes her nominations anonymously, Marcelo just starts spiraling. He's like, this is Jacob's fault. Jacob did this. This is all his fault. And Jacob's is like, like the game is the way it is. We got to play for ourselves. We don't need to be nasty. He's like, no, it's your fault. Like Marcelo goes blind. Like he just like points fingers. And then he brings these people to a room, and then Jacob basically takes Natalie and Spencer, and he's like, okay, I'm going to talk to Marcelo, but while I'm doing this, I need you guys to just like grab Josh or whoever, mainly Josh, and just like get that vote, and like so we can stay. Like I can stay because I need you guys. And they agree. Well, mainly Natalie agrees. Spencer just like he's doing this thing where he just nods and says, okay, like he's getting it now. But then you got Marcel in the other room who throws Natalie straight under the bus as well. Like right after, he's like, yeah, this is all Jacob and Natalie's fault. And now Muna and Billy both know that Natalie is playing the game. And Muna's actually like, I was caught off guard, but like she's playing the game. I got respect for her now, So this is just the beginning of everything. In the midst of it, we just see this Final Four deal coming together with like Josh and Muna and Billy and Spencer that's coming together. They confront Natalie later, but she has no choice but to vote one of these two. So we see a lot of deal making going on. We see a lot more fighting. I'm judging by their Marcelo's post-game interview with RJP. I don't know if Marcelo and Jacob are good to this day. But yeah, this was a crazy round. How did you guys feel about it?
Wild. It was so funny. Like nothing is funnier than Marcelo just out of the gates going wild, and then Jacob in the kitchen just being like, oh man, Marcelo, like it's a bummer for the both of us. And Marcelo's like, no, you're the reason. And then I think Jacob was so caught off guard that he was like, I thought we were boys. What just happened? So it's just that literally summed up the whole round or whatever for me, because it like they both were not on the same page, and they spent majority of that round trying to get on the same page, which I was like, just screw it. Like just why don't y'all actually like talk through this instead? But I just thought it was hilarious that Jacob was like, oh man, it's okay, like here we are. And Marcelo was like, blah, 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 just word vomiting every single plan ever. And people still weren't like trying to mess with Marcelo, even after he was like, it wasn't me. And Billy's like, I don't care. Nope. Sorry. Nope.
Yeah. And like Jacob, he's like, Marcelo, let's lower our voice. I'm not in the mood to yell at you and be chaotic with you. And then, Marcelo is just like, like being turned on and we didn't stick together. And just like all this sort of stuff. And then, they're going back and forth. And Spencer's like, they're supposed to need my vote. And they're just like going on and on. They're
not so funny when they were like, they're just talking to each other.
It's like, why are they talking to each other? They need to be talking to everybody else to make sure they get votes. And then Marcel is emphasizing, he's like, I'm not going to vote in Spencer. Like, he can't go in for the fourth time. Like, I can't do that. And it's just all of this sort of stuff. It was just a chaotic mess. And, I don't know. I was just amused by Spencer's response to the whole thing. But yeah, they should be talking to other people and getting votes, but they just spent all this time going at each other. And then also, I'm just like, Jacob is losing all these real life friends. I don't know, in the process of this game. I don't know what's going on here. But that's why it's hard to play with your friends. It's hard to play with your friends. There are a lot of extra emotions and like multiple different layers that you have to deal with and complexities when you're playing with friends. And so it can be difficult, but it's also like, I don't know, just what happened between him and Marcelo and him and Muna. I'm just like, I was
like, y'all must have lost your mind. But like, all right. Like, to be fair, I totally forgot about this. Like, they didn't have no downtime, so like literally the last time they saw each other, they were beefing with Muna and Billy, yelling, and then they do these pitches, and then they go back to beefing. Like, they can't, like, this is the only time they get to talk the entire time. So it's like, all right, like they just picked up right where they left off. But they really they both just like lost it this round. Like, I think they totally forgot why they were there.
Yes.
And instead of actually focusing on the challenge, in the midst of this, you guys gave them the perfect distraction to form a Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, also just to also point out, since you also did that, when Jacob pulled Natalie and Spencer's side, that's also giving them more room to bond. But it's just like then y'all start yelling at each other like, when y'all get in the jury, what you think that's going to look like? You're going to look like you was acting like a fool. Like, what you doing? You know,
saying, "Oh, Marcelo, you're a 30-year-old man. Quit complaining," and all this sort
started
of stuff.
screaming and stuff. I'm
Oh
like,
my god!
Take me
I'm like,
out. Yes, that
like,
whole
what you doing?
situation. I was
It
like,
was
I
a
honestly
mess.
did not expect that one scene that we saw the preview for Jacob to be at Marcelo. That was actually like, the person I was least expecting him to be.
I was
yelling
waiting
at.
this whole time just to find out it was him. I was like, damn. I'm like, I was not expecting that, you know. And it like Marcelo was just like, because like I said, I listened to his interview. He was like, he said specifically after, well, all right. So he was saying that it wasn't shown, but like he formed an alliance with him, Jacob, Billy, and Muna, and he intended that to be the Final Four. So that's why this entire time he was just like, he didn't know that Jacob wanted Muna out allegedly. So when date night happened and that the results were the way they were, he was very confused. So I think that's what he was trying to say during the Muna thing, but she didn't want to hear it. And then that's why during his speech, if you listen, he wanted to put Josh and Jacob up. And he never really got to why he wanted that because he kept trying to explain his game. So this is like the first time that he really got his emotions out, I guess. And it just looked really fake because Marcelo, up to this point, came off as very fake. And since you're so closely aligned to Jacob, he honestly had you at like a ball and chain. Like you are perceived the way Jacob is allowing you to look. So Marcelo never really got to have those close one-on-ones with those two, and could have been like, yo, like I was not a part of that. I did not agree with what Jacob did. But since you kept bullshitting people, it was just like it was just like the boy who cried wolf at that point. And like, you know, it came back to bite him.
Yeah,
100%.
Exactly. Oh, sorry about it.
Yeah, Billy was so mad at him. Like at that when they when Muna came back, Billy was so mad because. Well, sorry, she was actually more mad at Jacob because Jacob, like, to make things even worse with Jacob and him throwing Muna under, he goes, we need to save Muna to Billy. And it's like, you're just digging your grave even deeper. You didn't need to say that. You didn't need to act like you were genuine. Like, I'm so confused.
Yeah, the whole drama though, like with the date night when he was just basically saying, you know, if it comes down to it, and you're hearing it's me and Muna, then I understand. Like if you have to, it's like, you know. And then they saw behind that BS. They're like, no, like this is ridiculous. You're trying to play us, and we're not getting played here because we see what you're trying to do. And so that was just entirely a mess. I don't know. That's why I just feel like date night was not the right time to do that. It was not the right time to do that.
Yeah, and like it was like orchestrating this whole Broadway play, and you never even made it past Act 1. Like that's what happened, and it's again like I just
right into the fight scene.
Yeah, I was just like, what are you doing? And that's why Billy, right? Like when later on when Marcelo and Billy have the moment, like Billy actually says, I thought about it all night. You know, like probably when she was doing jump ropes, but she thought about it too. And she said that it's actually Jacob that I'm mad at. So actually I won't vote for you. So I almost like going back to the previous point where I think that Marcelo is like almost, it's like going in between like real situations with maybe a few people and then like being fake to a few. And I think either he or we as audience even can't understand which is which. And I think that's why overall he's coming off looking fake, because I do think that he genuinely maybe cares about a few people, because I saw him kind of trying to be in between Jacob and Muna, you know, at first, and being like, okay, let's try to squash this. And then all of a sudden, I think there's so many, like, because again, like y'all said, playing with friends is hard. So
Mhm.
I think it's both. I wish he could like tell me, here's the people I'm actually real with. Here's who I'm just like blowing smoke up their ass.
Mhm.
See, when I watched the interview, like he seemed to like feel like the confessionals weren't like portraying his actual thoughts, or maybe he just didn't do it correctly. Because
Mhm.
the way he was speaking, like he dead ass seemed like he really wanted to like work with Jacob, Muna, and Billy, and that to be the thing. But if
Mhm.
you look at the confessionals, it's just like, now that I think about it, he never really spoke about Muna and Billy like that. Like, other than a few times, he's like, I'm going to work with them. So, like, maybe that is
Right.
the truth. But, like, it's just like, we even saw it in Date Night. The way he talks to people, it just comes off very unorganic, and it just feels like copy and paste. So, it's like, I can
Mhm.
see why people wouldn't feel inclined to trust him. And, I mean, you saw how he threw Jacob under the bus. It's not like he's prone to like not throw people under the bus or anything. So like I don't blame anybody, but like if that's his true intention, I can see why he blew up the way he did this episode.
Yeah,
So,
and Billy did. I think Billy also in that conversation did mention. She was like, Marcella didn't really do anything disloyal to me, but he did basically screw Muna over. So I was mad, and I did think about it, but
that's what I'm saying.
okay.
It's like, yeah, like I get it if it's your true intentions, but you still did it, So it's just like,
Exactly.
it's like, that's why I'm like, I'm not going to feed into it too much. But I mean, I do think that there's a slither of actual truth in there, So
Yeah,
exactly.
So there was, before we get to the selection process, there was a couple cool interactions. I mean, it was mainly the four coming together, but I'm starting to feel like this interaction between Josh and Jacob might mean something in Jacob and Spencer, because Josh basically Jacob was talking to Josh begging for a vote, and Josh was straight up, he was like, I think you're a threat, like no. But Jacob was like, if you work with me, like like if I come back or something, like we can make something happen. So I mean, that's always going to be in Josh's back pocket, because I think Jacob's going to be desperate for anyone to work with him. And honestly, I think Natalie's crazy if she doesn't jump ship next episode. But
she really should have jumped ship this episode.
That's another piece I was confused about also. Like, what's Natalie doing? Again, I don't know if I understand that things are moving very quickly. Like, they don't have downtime in the same way that, again, other reality shows do. But even with her jury speech, she was breathing so heavy. And then kind of like going here, really like hatching onto a sinking ship. Like, I'm very confused because I know that she's a smarter player than that. So what is like not clicking is my question almost.
We said this before. I think Natalie has a great mind for the game, and I think she has a plan, right? Her issue, there's two factors. One, she adjusts. They're both the same thing. She plays at a different speed in comparison to everyone else.
Pivot faster.
Exactly. Like she's just very slow, very slow. So I mean, I think she has the smarts to know what to do, but she gets it at a very later pace than like she really needs it.
True.
Yeah, this game's very quick. You just need to learn to pivot as you go, and that's why like Muna and Jacob are so good at like the minis and stuff, because they were able to pivot throughout the game, and minis are so fast. Right? And I think she's played minis before too, so she should kind of understand that as well. But yeah, she's just like not pivoting as much as even Spencer is pivoting faster than her at this point, because Spencer has figured out, like it took him actually that's not true, because it took him being in a few battle matches before he realized he needed to pivot. But at this point, he's in a good spot, because when he came back humbly in the last time, he was like, I'm willing to work with everyone. Let's sit down and chat and whatever. And he's continued that pace and that like demeanor throughout the whole time, when he's talking to Billy, when he's talking to Muna, and like now they like him. So like, they're like, oh, I don't want to take him out. Like I want to keep him. Like we need to work together and whatever. So he pivoted. So she just needs to pivot, and she should have been like, yeah, I'm with you. Let me do this.
Yeah.
With you.
And
like there's no point.
And was Muna giving her almost an out? Like, I didn't think,
Yeah.
again, I don't know
Yeah.
if that was like confessional where like they needed that piece to kind of tie that conversation together. But when Muna said, I thought Natalie would never vote against me because there's only 3 women left.
Exactly.
And then it cuts to Natalie. I did. And I'm sorry. Right? Like, to me, I just wanted to know if like Muna knew, or if could Natalie have said like it was Jacob pressuring me. Like, really,
Yes, that's exactly what I was just gonna say. That's exactly what I was gonna just say. She could have pivoted and said, when Billy was like, "Did you vote for Muna?" and she said yes, but she's like, "Jacob really convinced me. I didn't know what to do in this situation. I'm with you from now on. Like, you can trust me." Blah blah blah. And so she's like, "Yeah," and then that's it. Like, that's the end of it.
I feel like maybe she's trying to make sure she gets more respect for her gameplay. So I think she's just kind of like, yeah, I did vote for Muna. I don't feel like I can beat you in the end, so I voted for you.
Yeah,
and that's basically why I did this push. So, like, if for some reason Muna does end up on the jury, she can see, wow, Natalie is actually, doing that. Like, we see in the confessional, like, she's like, oh wow, I didn't realize Natalie was playing the game like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that will, like, being honest and transparent about her game moves with people, like she has been starting to do in the past, I think that's really going to help her set up her narrative if she does make it to final 2, depending on what happens in the next few rounds, because then people will actually believe her for what she says and what she's putting out there. So I think that's probably what that was about. I do think it's like, I'm not sure if in the moment I'd be like, yeah, it was me, or I would have just pushed it onto somebody else. But I mean, I guess we saw that even when Marcelo tried to push it on other people like Natalie and Jacob, it didn't really work well for him. So I guess it made more sense to it for Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but at the same time, she needs to survive this moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
You still have that game. You still have that game. You still have that game move in your pocket. Like, that's a big one in your pocket. But you need to survive. And at this point, if you're showing disloyalty with the only people left in the house, if you're showing loyalty to the 2 people that one of them's about to go out, like, you're at a disadvantage here. You're in the minority. So it's like, I get it. Like, yeah, she's trying to show her game move. She's trying to be honest. By showing her honesty, Billy, I think, would respect that and then move on from there, because that's what Billy is all about, which is genuine connections and honesty. But she was just like, straight up no, and then just like and then she was iffy about the vote too, and she was iffy about, like, straight up iffy about it when they asked her about it. So it's just like where are your loyalties lie, girl?
I think she's thinking about the individual round and not what comes next, because in this round she's not a target. It's Jacob and Marcelo, so that's probably where in her head she's like, okay, well, I can tell them, and the next round's going to be completely different. But it's like, you got to think what's happening at 6. 6 is the crucial one, right? We heard a lot about 6 from Natalie and Billy. So you got to think about that, and you being potentially taken out by Muna and Billy, because you betrayed them when they thought they had you. So yeah, I agree, Shana. I don't think that was smart, personally, like a good idea for her game. But I think that's probably why she did it. And I get it, but I just think that's probably not like the ideal way she should have gone about it. I think either deflecting it off of herself and saying, yeah, I did vote, but like, this is what happened, would be just better. Like, oh, I won't do this again. Like, I will continue to work with you, so that because now it's like, oh, she could be a target for them in the next round, because she did come for them, and they don't know if they could trust her in the future. So,
and I think that's foreshadowing anyway. Like, whenever Billy and her made that deal, they were both talking about final 6. So let's see. Now final 6 is next week. If one of them goes home, or I'm assuming they're at least now going to be at risk, like either one, because they're both like, it's final 6, blah blah blah. But yeah, like I said, I think Natalie just told the jury, and they all like, oh, it was her move. Wow, great. Check. I don't know why she felt like she also needed to do that.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
other round.
Yeah, she didn't need to tell the players in the game per se.
Exactly. So
Honestly,
that's what I was confused.
I think straight up she's just scared of Billy because she keeps saying on multiple occasions how she can't lie to Billy. She can't lose her trust. She said it to the jury too. She was like, I can't afford to lie to Billy. Like she really, I think she's just scared of Billy. Like I think that's straight
Billy
up the
won't
reason.
catch her. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think it's all crazy because like I feel like a lot of this all started from when like also it's funny to me because Billy has basically secretly put up people like twice now.
Mhm.
So like it's awesome because she has these huge claims to 2 big moves. But like a lot of this drama started, she put up Natalie. Like Natalie was in the position she was because of Billy. But like she doesn't even know that part even happened. So that's why I'm just looking forward to seeing what's gonna happen with them next. And will the move happen at 6? I don't know. I'm really excited for Final 6 because I feel like that's when people are saying things are gonna happen. So
yeah, let's see.
So lastly, what happens is we get an insight of Josh's strategy, which was very interesting. He says that it benefits his game for Jacob to leave because that frees up Natalie and it frees up Spencer. Well, no, not Spencer, is it? Yeah, it frees up Natalie and Spencer for like free agents, but specifically, no, it wasn't Spencer. It was Natalie and Muna because he thinks that they could possibly reconnect even though they're beefing right now. So he was like, specifically Natalie, though, that's a big free agent piece that he can have on his side if Jacob's not there. So that's a big thing for him. And lastly, we close out the whole thing when we're seeing Jacob going back to Spencer, reconnecting, and Spencer saying like, yeah, it sucks that he's going to go and he knows he's going to go, but I like if he stays, like I can continue to work with him. And I think that's good for Spencer because I mean Jacobs is I said this on Twitter, like they literally swap positions. Like now Jacob's a shield and Spencer is just like there. So good for them. But the round closes out. We see the votes. I barely got them, but I got them this time. Hold up. So we see the votes for Jacob was Muna, Billy, Josh, and Marcelo. And then we see the votes for Marcelo was Jacob, Spencer, and Natalie. So Jacob is voted out. And this is where I was very confused. So first of all, he doesn't reveal anybody's votes. First time the entire season or at all, he just didn't reveal it. He's like, I know who voted who. So maybe he was trying to flex to the jury that like he has a good game awareness or something. I don't know. But he didn't reveal any votes. So the second thing was he didn't expose Muna's LOS, which is leading me to think that Josh's suspicions was true. That's why I said that confessional is very interesting because he said that they could possibly reconnect later. Okay. He didn't expose her LOS, so maybe he's going to try to attempt to work with her again. And lastly, he drags Marcelo because he showed his true colors, which is true. But I feel like, I don't know, is that the correct drag here? No, I mean, I think Marcelo's going to cave because he doesn't have any other options, and he would work with him again.
You know what? You know why I think he dragged him? Because I think he knew he was just losing it, and he would crumble under whatever it was. Yeah. So I think he just thought he would just beat him no matter what. He was like, Muna maybe he didn't expose the LOS because he was like, I know she has the LOS, so that's just a waste. So it's like Marcelo is just really doing me no favors at this point if he's just going to throw my game under. So it's like I'd rather him not even be here, and I could probably beat him at this point. So like, just going to drag him.
I agree. I think it was 100%. I'm taking the weakest player. Period. Yeah. That's it. That's literally it. And it was so funny. And again, like I said, that's probably why he's again the only 2-time winner because he can make moves like that under pressure because it was really smart to take Marcelo. The blowback is so minimal anyway, like it doesn't really matter, and you really get hope most likely win. So it was I even in the not confessional but whatever right before the competition started, he was like, I can beat him. I can beat him. Like even just like I literally wrote like Jacob's so cocky, but he won, so I can't even be mad. But he was just like, I know that this looks like something physical. I think I can beat him. And then we see the cinder blocks, and I was like, oh no, this is
I
crazy.
think Marcelo knew he wasn't going to win that. You know.
Yeah.
No, but he does 1,300 jumping jacks. What are you talking
Yeah.
He did his famous speech and everything.
Oh, the speech.
Oh,
And then
God.
also too in like his confessionals, I thought it was very interesting as they got towards like the vote, and like I think even like around that time he's like, you know, it's between me and Jacob, like Marcelo versus Jacob Jones, like I'm so ready for this. Like I don't know, he seemed like really excited about it. So
yeah.
it was definitely quite interesting to see, like, you know, that he was at this point. But even Josh had mentioned like in the round, he's like, Marcelo will crumble under pressure in a battle match. So that's probably what's going to take place, you know, by us like voting Jacob. I did find it interesting though that he didn't reveal the votes and just assumed that, you know, Muna was safe. I think he maybe should have tried to investigate a bit more, but I do really feel like the reason he made that little speech to Muna before he went into the battle match, saying like, you know, feelings are involved in this game and I respect and understand that. And in life, you're a true friend to me. And I appreciated that a ton. And in this game, Muna, you're Muna and you shook me to the core. And I appreciate you and have nothing but love for you. Yeah, I feel like he's really trying to set himself up to working with her at 6. Otherwise, I don't know why else he wouldn't just flush the LOS. Because I think if he really wanted to just come for her at 6 and get her out, then he probably would have flushed it. But the only other reason I think could be like he was just so heated with Marcelo because of all the back and forth they had going on that he probably was just like, that's not even my focus right now. I just want to battle Marcelo because it's what I can do to get back in the house and the easiest way to get back in.
And just to speak on Marcelo, because I forget who said that he had his speech, but yeah, he did his little speech because I think he knew he wasn't going to come back. Well, before I even continue, in the interview, he was saying that if he were to drag someone, he was actually going to drag either Josh or Spencer. So I thought that was interesting. But, you know, he has this little speech. He like compliments every person. And then gets to Josh. He's like, except for you, Josh, like you're a coward. And Josh is like, what? He's like, you know, you're playing scared. You didn't even talk to me. And he's like,
Josh is like, votes.
Yeah,
it's your job to come talk to me. You're the one who's on the block.
I know.
The best part
was tonight.
What did he say? He said, I'm just being honest, dude. And Josh was like, well, honestly, fuck you.
Yeah. It was probably, you know, like how people love hate recap episodes. I would love this in a recap episode because it's so funny. Like Josh, like is standing against the beam or whatever, and he's just like literally so cool. Does not give like 2 shits about what Marcelo is saying, and he's like, I hope Jacob beats that ass. And the only kind of moment that Marcelo even got a little bit of a W was when he was like, I hope Jacob beats you tonight. And he's like, the sun's out. The sun's
like,
here.
It's not nighttime.
Yeah, it's not nighttime.
That was my favorite line.
Yeah,
I would be literally like that. It's morning, like it's or afternoon. It's obviously not nighttime.
I don't know if anyone.
He got shook.
It's so funny. I don't know if anyone watches Wild 'N Out, but in that freestyle, like where they get dings for every like insult, like Marcelo got 1 ding, and it was so funny. I thought it's not nighttime. It's sun.
It's sun.
I think he meant to say it's sunny, maybe, but like it was so hilarious.
I think
it's like not rattled, not even like ice cold. It just kind of like
man.
I don't like, cool. Like bye.
Like clap back like crazy, man. Like it's crazy.
No, it was perfect. I would watch that like segment again for sure. Like I think it's so funny.
Amazing. I loved it.
He honestly has the best clapbacks in this entire show.
Yes.
Like he's great.
So witty.
So yeah, that's basically the episode. Like they said, they had the battle match. It was basically the same one. I think. What was it? Chris what was it last season? Was it Erica and Hunter that had to do this? Or is it? I don't know. But
Hunter
yeah,
was one of them.
It was Erica and somebody else.
It was
'Cause
Hunter because he said,
It was Hunter.
Hunter, I don't know how
Hunter.
you did this.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Erica
Yeah.
robbed Queen. Yeah.
But yeah, that's our episode here. Oh yeah, speaking of Erica, we might have her next week, so you know. But anyway, so let's finish this out with tier list adjustments. This is the first time we're not going into 2 hours in a while, so
I
did
know.
it.
Look at us being efficient.
so this is we got the I added Marcella to the jury.
Now.
It's still small now.
Wow. There's like no one in the game. No.
I know.
No one's got skin in the game.
So how do we feel about Jacob? I mean, uphill battle now. He's literally Spencer now.
Yeah, he needs to go to the bottom of everybody.
Mhm.
Spencer now. It's crazy, but it's crazy because Marcelo was at the top, and then 2 rounds he went from drop to he's out. Now you got Jacob. He was at the top, drop, and is he going to be? I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be out, but yeah.
That's what's crazy about this game. It's so ever changing because the rounds are so different, and people don't have time to talk in between. So it's like you could be good now, but then in 2 rounds, like you said, you could be on the jury.
But this is why we appreciate and I love Sequester, and that's why it's so different from every other reality game, because it isn't such a just pagonging, right? Of just this, okay, we already know who's gonna go home. Okay, let's just get to the final 2 and see who the jury wants to give it. It's so dynamic. Thankfully, things are moving, and so I'm really thankful for that. And it's just I still can't believe Marcelo's out, but that every single person dragged is out. How crazy.
So next we got Natalie. I want to keep her where she's at, but I think
people are ahead of her though.
Oh
that's
yeah,
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think she's going to drop when
she's
we get to the next people. Yeah,
I think she's in front of Spencer, but she's not ahead of anyone else.
I mean, is she?
That's what I was gonna say.
I mean, she's
probably right behind. Actually, sorry, my bad. I was actually gonna say Spencer's ahead of her because at least he has solidified a final 4.
Yes.
Mhm.
Sorry, I was gonna say that.
She's ahead of Jacob.
She's ahead of Jacob.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think she's ahead of Jacob, but behind Spencer.
Sorry, my roommate came in. But yeah.
Hi, roommate. What up?
Yeah, I agree with that. So the next 2 people are very interesting. Mine is Jacob, where we don't know if he's going to get his battle pass again, because if he did, that would be crazy.
Oh
but
my God.
Josh and Muna both have LOSs going into final 6, and this is actually the last round that they can use LOSs. So I don't know, unless they deliberately get put into the bottom, which I don't think Jacob or Natalie are going to be able to put Muna down there. And I don't see Josh. Could Josh? I don't know who's getting targeted. I really don't know who's getting targeted.
I think Josh is good, at least for now. He is really, I think he's one of the only people actively working to make himself the locus of, not locus, but the focus of,
Oh my God. He's making himself an LOS.
Yeah, literally. But the focus of power, and where he's literally if this person leaves, they're good for me. If Billy, they're good for me. Literally every single person, he's kind of indebting them to him. So that's why I think he should be moved up to a B, because
I would move him up.
I can't.
He's safe. He's guaranteed final 5.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The final 5 he goes.
Yeah, exactly.
And he might even not he might. I think he should use his LOS, if not on him.
100% he should.
Yeah, on someone else to save them and again make one last move. But I don't want him to go in, so I don't know.
Or do you think he might just hold on to it in case he's potentially called for a battle match?
Right. That's the only. Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
he just plays it here. You don't want to go out with it like Muna almost did.
And the dangerous thing is he knows the luxury row powers and the battle thing is getting replenished. So if Jacob does get it and he uses his LOS to someone else, like he could get screwed.
He could get
Yeah, I feel like
on
it's
himself
probably
here.
safer to play it on himself because
Especially with
there's
so little people left. There's only a
Yeah.
few people to pick from. So I don't think it's probably the smartest. And targeting wise, I think it's a Jacob Natalie target.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, could we? I don't know if Josh is still in the chat, but what was he doing in the background while Spencer and Jacob were like touching, doing the hand, whatever, bumping it and shaking hands? You saw Josh in the background, going through again, some not drawers, but cabinets, and I was like, "Are you looking for LOSs again? Like, what are you doing?" So I didn't know if like maybe they just had something in there, but I just thought that was also funny. That did he think he was gonna get a second LOS? Like he's not. But
well, crazy thing you say that. Billy's literally the only person in the game left who hasn't been to a luxury row.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has no idea.
And she probably won't know until I guess the end of the game at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the
Like
final
Luna told her.
speech.
Yeah.
Like Luna told her she had an LOS, but she didn't tell how she got it. So like
She
I'm
said
like,
Jay West LOS, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, she said that.
something.
Okay. Wow. So what are we doing, Muna? Are we keeping her C or are we moving her up or down?
A.
Really?
No, B.
No,
yeah,
I think B. She's done her final four.
I think she's ahead of Josh, though. I think she's ahead of Josh because she's also. Well, okay. Here's why I say ahead.
Okay.
I think that so she's also guaranteed final 5 like Josh is. Her speech was done well. She played it really well where she said I'd flush my LOS, and even with that, like Jacob just assumed that she was safe, that the jury went with her, and then didn't even call out her vote or drag her down to flush it. So like I think she played this round really, really well, and she when she came back into the house after the battle back, she was probably going to be like, she's probably on the outs with a lot of people, and she solidified her final 4 here, and I think that's turned it a lot. So I think she's had a lot of adversity and has had to battle back, and she's in a really good position. I just like maybe they're equal. I don't know. Like I just feel like she's like for the final 4, like I feel like she's at the top of it, and I don't know what it is. Like, but I wouldn't put her ahead of Billy or anything. I think Billy's ahead of her at this point. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say quickly that I do think that like Muna has really integrated herself back well into the game, because I was generally concerned because it wasn't looking good, and obviously she got voted out like the last episode. So like I was not sure what her position would be, but being able to solidify herself at the 4. But then that's also where I question, like, could she be the vote at 4? Because people are like, there's no way I can beat Muna in the end.
Yeah.
So whoever she's with, they might, the 3 people might choose to vote her. Because that could be a possibility. I know some people are like, oh, well, she's going to make it to final 2. But I don't really know. I feel like she might be the target at 4 because people might realize there's no way I can beat Muna in the end with this whole story that she has. Like, she literally has like the most compelling story, I think, probably of anyone on the cast at this point. So that's where I'm like, I think that Muna is in a really strong position, but that's where I'm a little uncertain, just because like I don't know, like I don't think, for instance, like I don't think it would be good for Spencer to bring Muna to final 2. I don't think it would be good for Josh, like I don't know if Billy will outright target Muna, but
that's what I was going to say.
But I also feel like if it came to, I couldn't see, like, if Billy did vote Muna, I couldn't see Muna dragging Billy.
No.
No, for sure.
So that's kind of that's where my head is at with that.
See, the only thing, and this is why I didn't like this challenge, I think this gave you the inside of a jury member, and that's going to be in the back of every single person's minds at the end of this. And everyone's going to remember that Muna and Billy are the jury favorites after this. And that incentivizes people like Josh to be like, all right, so don't want to take the one of these two that far. Like this can honestly incentivize him after cutting Jacob to try to like get Spencer and Natalie together and be like, all right, we got to get rid of Muna and then we need to take out Billy after.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm iffy about it, because I think now that everyone knows where the jury lies in terms of likability, it could really like hurt their chances now that everyone sees that they're jury threats. But that's the only thing that's stopping me from putting over Josh, but I'll do it if you guys think so.
I think Billy would take Muna, because I think Billy, like, not only that she preaches a loyal game, I think that's like her brand. That's what she's about. So I can see her doing it. I agree that she shouldn't, but I'm just wondering.
She'll take her.
Yeah, that's what I think. So I will say that much for Muna versus, I don't know if Billy for sure will take Josh over anyone else. So that's why maybe also Muna can be ahead.
So we have Billy, Muna, Josh.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about Moon.
It could be like an equal.
Exactly.
I feel like it's equal. So, I was just trying to explain why it was equal.
Agreed. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but the tier list just shows it. Like, I feel like they're all level here.
Yeah.
Whereas the C is not equal. It is an exact order.
Yeah, it is. It is an order.
Now, one thing I am going to say, because we've been getting hyped up for this final 6 battle between Natalie and Billy, I think Billy's going to win the battle and get Natalie out, but I think Natalie is going to drag Billy out of everyone here.
I can see it happening.
Yeah, I don't know who's winning that, but
especially because Billy hasn't gone in, and so the time to prove herself, I guess, in the perception of the people who are in the game, and even Muna has mentioned before, like, these people have not got into a battle match, like they should be targets. So I that's where I would be concerned there for Billy. Hopefully, if that is the case where Natalie is the target and not Jacob, hopefully, Billy can pull through, but I guess we'll see what happens.
That's going to be interesting. Lastly, I think he's going to stay. I don't know. Where are we doing with Spencer? I think he's doing fine. I think his game obviously is impressive in terms of competitions and everything. His social game lacks a lot, and the jury just, if we look at this real time, like obviously to a lot of viewers, people are starting to warm up to him, but in real time, this is taking the place of a week. And I know Rachel, Shireen, and they have a big influence, and I really have a hard time seeing Spencer winning any jury vote. Like I said, I could be completely wrong, but as of right now, I really have a hard time seeing him. But with that being said, I think out of everyone here, he has the highest chance of making final 2. So
I just have a question about that. So because we know, like, the main thing about Spencer's game is that he's won, 3 battle matches. So, and we know that the social game is lacking, but I guess, is there anything that we're seeing out of his strategic game?
I think he just started to gain the strategy with like just agreeing to whatever. I mean, he just got himself in an alliance, but it's like, it was kind of like last resort. And is anyone really going to give Spencer credit for that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like I feel like either he's going to be the GOAT or he's getting dragged.
And he's not even giving himself credit. He said Billy is the reason. Like, will he say that to the jury? No. But I'm saying, like, in real time, he's not even giving himself credit for the change in his game. So I literally think, just like this tier list, he is, like, at the bottom of the 4. And again, the only reason he gets to 2 is not because of his, like, amazing gameplay or his social strategy. It's because they think that they can beat him. And I'm not saying maybe they don't beat him. Maybe he pulls something great out and, really tugs at people's heartstrings. But I currently, I don't see it. That's why I really think that he's so C, but I think is as like this episode, I think he's higher chance than Natalie and Jacob.
Like, there's a few people who I can see him getting votes from like maybe like Marcelo, maybe Brent, and I don't know where Jay West is leading, but like if he was sitting next to like a Natalie or like
He does not have Brent's vote.
Yeah, that's what I'm just like.
The reason Brent's there is because of him. So
I have a hard
Yeah.
time seeing Spencer win a vote. Like honestly,
Yeah.
like
Maybe
Brendan didn't seem to
Katie.
like him either. Maybe Katie, maybe.
Because Katie was
maybe.
the only one, but again, I don't know if that's editing, but Katie was the only one, right, that we saw that shook her head when he was talking.
Mhm.
So that's why I thought maybe that she's like, oh yeah, you're trying, like, whatever.
Like it's tough. He needs to cater to the people who are left in the house.
Yes.
And he needs to convince them.
6 and 5. He needs to do something
Yeah.
radical 6 and 5 and play that final 4 superbly. I don't know, because that's the thing where I'm like, I'm trying to think of what are his strategic moves, and at this point, I'm honestly not sure, which is kind of why I asked, because
Yeah. I think he got the hang of it too late. I think in the back of the people's minds who have played with him, they're just going to remember the things like the tethered round where he accidentally put Brendan's name out, or the yelling back and forth with Brent, and all this other stuff. Like I think, unfortunately, past the very early rounds are just going to rub people the wrong way, especially the girls.
Agreed.
So yeah, like will Muna and Billy, like, all right, if he sits next to Natalie, are Muna and Billy going to give him the benefit of the doubt? I don't know. Like maybe, but I think literally if he has any chance of maybe getting at least close to 4 votes, it will have to be next to Natalie. I don't think he has a slither of a chance against anyone else. But yeah, that's our tier list. That we're coming down to the wire. Was it like 2 episodes left? 3? I think it's because Final 4 is 1 episode. So
yeah,
it might be 2 or 3 more episodes. That's crazy. Wow. All right. So lastly, let's see what everyone's doing. So Chanel, what's going on?
The huge, just streaming. I actually put a schedule out this time. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays at 7. So playing a lot of Dead by Daylight right now, and then Sundays are Among Us, which is always a good time. Even Isaiah's been in it as well. It's madness. So come check that out. But yeah, that's what I'm mostly up to nowadays, focusing on that.
Me and Chanel completely like destroyed people the other day. Real quick,
Isaiah.
like we did it in like 30 seconds. They were like, "How's the game over already?" But real quick, do you want to plug whoever made your shirt?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I got it on Pinterest. I'll have to find the link, but I don't remember the seller. I just clicked and bought because I thought it was so cool. But the best shirt ever. Represent those POC women, right? Let's go.
And Rachel, my favorite alliance this season.
My favorite alliance that could have run that show if battle matches weren't in effect. But that's
really these battle matches.
They're battle matches taking them out. But I'll represent because they're my favorite alliance that could have been.
For sure.
Yeah.
Geneva, how is Survivor Syracuse going?
I made it to final 6, and what's crazy is that in this game, this is the point where the lockdown happens, quarantine. So basically, what was a live in-person game becomes basically an org, with Zoom tribals and challenges and lots of FaceTimes and stuff. So on Thursday, you can check out episode 13 and see where my game goes from there. But it's been a quite crazy season, lots of twists and turns. But at least one thing I can say is I survived 10 straight tribals without getting voted out, right?
They keep coming for you.
I know, I don't know. Well,
I started watching just for you, Geneva.
I appreciate that, and I hope people will watch. And yeah, let me know if you're watching months later. Let me know what you think. I love to hear people's takes and opinions, who you like, who you don't like. But yeah, be sure to watch that on YouTube. And then also you can follow me at Peace Love Jen on Twitter or Instagram or on my YouTube. And there's a lot of live tweeting or photos or content that you can get from there. So yeah, tune into all these things going on and more podcasting to come your way.
Sasha, what have you been up to?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter as well at funsize _04. And I'll be on Rob Has a Podcast on Wednesday. I was like, what day? What are days? On Wednesday, recapping the 30, I can't do math. Whatever, the third worst season of Survivor Thailand. So come talk to me there as well.
And lastly, I mean, you're already on my channel, but I just got 1,000 subs, so it's lit.
Yes.
Thank you. We're going to be podcasting still. We're going to possibly have Erica Hirsch here next week, so look out for that. Looking to possibly do more podcasts for other shows. So, I mean, just follow me on Twitter at 8ballbangers. Get updates on that. I should be on Rob Has a Podcast in like 2 weeks too, talking about wrestling, and I don't watch wrestling, so you should see me be a mess over there. But yeah, that's it. And thank you for watching, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye,
everybody.